out Dr. Esiama and cleared him of the charges and withdrawn his case, leaving the other people to go through the court processes and the prosecution. So what informs the president's decision to only discontinue the case of Dr. Esiama and leave the others to go through the processes? So these are questions that we are asking.
Fair enough. So this particular last question you're asking is in reference to the case involving the financial sector. I wanted to point out two things to you: that he's not the only person who has had cases dropped against him. So, for example, the current finance minister had a case which this new AG dropped as well, together with other cases like the CocoBot CEO, the case involving the Seidu Agongo and co. So, if the person who's going to be in charge of the public purse was also going through a court process and the AG dropped charges, and we didn't hear any noise from the minority side, why are you picking on the nominee for governor, who hadn't even had his case actually travel? Because we understand that for him, the matter was started in 2018, but because of some preliminary issues and for some of the parties going to the Supreme Court, he's not even properly opened his defense. So why are you picking and choosing which one to tackle?
Yeah, Bernard, don't take the wind out of our sail. In the subsequent days, you will hear from the minority coming back to some of these issues and speaking about the other issues. Today, we decided to pick on the issue of the governor. And I can bet you between now and Monday, you will hear another press conference from the minority dealing with the other government appointees whose cases have been discontinued at the courts. We're going to go to talk about those ones. And we brought out the issue of the governor of the Bank of Ghana because yesterday, if you remember, the minority leader had cause to write to the president because the governor, his appointment as per Article 1834A of the Constitution, is supposed to come into effect with the consultation of the Council of State. The Council of State is not yet constituted, but this gentleman runs to the Bank of Ghana office to hold meetings at the office. So we drew the president's attention yesterday that we have not exhausted all the processes leading to his approval. So he cannot go to the bank and act as if he's been approved to act. And in so doing, in highlighting that, we needed to draw the attention of the Ghanaian community, the president, the International Monetary Fund, and all the agencies involved, that Dr. Johnson Esiama, his appointment and the decision by the president to discontinue his case at the court for us is born out of bad faith. And it raises questions as to whether or not President Mahama truly is committed to fighting corruption. Because President Mahama is coming from he's in a government that was built from a party that talks about probity and accountability. But so there's a process to ensure probity and accountability. Mm-hmm. Why do you discontinue that process?
So those are fair questions, and I also guess it's a fair question to ask in relation to, and I'm not trying to equalize with Atu Forsen, but
no problem.
Isn't it
Except
strange?
That I can't hear you well, Bernard.
I'm saying, isn't it strange that the finance minister nominee appeared before a vetting committee which had both sides, and he was vetted for over 4.5 hours, and the matter of his case was not even brought up in the vetting? And this is the same minority, and in fact, I believe you were in that vetting as well. This is the same minority now that's raising a matter against Dr. Esiama. That's number one. Number two, both of us are not lawyers, but we do know that a man is innocent until proven guilty. And since government is a continuum, and the government has said that they've dropped charges against him, why is that a problem? So on his record, if there's no charge, why is that an issue?
Yeah, so Bernard, we haven't passed judgment first and foremost as to whether he's guilty of the crimes that have been labeled against him. We haven't passed judgment. It is only the court of competent jurisdiction that can decide, and that is why we think the president should still allow the court processes to run. Then on the issue of the finance minister, and when it came to the vetting committee, you and I are very much aware of the issues we raised at the first vetting visit. I led the press conference, and we tabled a lot of issues that happened on the part of the chairman and some decisions he took and powers he assumed that he didn't have that we were not happy about. So Atu Forsen's vetting is something that, if you ask me, was exhaustive. I will tell you it was not exhaustive, but I have indicated to you that there is a plan that we want to roll out as far as these discontinued cases at the courts are concerned. And in the subsequent days, you will hear from our legal side of the minority dealing with all the other legal issues and the court cases that have been discontinued. I can promise you, between now and Monday, to hear from us, including that of Honorable Atufo, the Finance Minister. So it is not as if we have glossed over that or we have forgotten about that. We indeed have that as part of our plans to bring that also to the fore, to the attention of the President.
Just to clarify a minor point around legal technicality. So the case that he was involved in, or the matter that is in question, involves other people. And you're saying that your preference would have been for the case to run its course and for him to be discharged and acquitted, which would have been a more substantive matter. In this particular case, the government has just dropped the charges against him. Would it have sat better with you if the whole case was discontinued? And for the fact that he was singled out, is that your problem? Because as you rightly said, the matter involves... No, hold on, let me just finish the question. The matter involves Dr. Dufour as well. It also involves the UT case. So it's one case, if I'm to understand this. He was accused alongside other people in violation of the BOG Act. Of course, he said through his agents that he's innocent of the charges. So my question to you is that if the whole matter had been... You are saying if the matter has been dispensed with and he had been discharged and acquitted, that would have been better. But to the extent that the AG sought to just drop charges against only him, you feel that that's not right. I'm just trying to understand your position on the legal question.
No. So in the interest of the reputational integrity of the country, the central bank governor should not have all these issues around him. So it is proper that the president allows the court process to run the full hog. Then also, we are not saying because he is isolated, leaving the rest, we are not happy with that. All that we want is for the entirety of the people who have been arraigned before the court to go through the process. We want all of them to go through the process. If you're going to discontinue and you have genuine reasons why you should discontinue, you don't discontinue the case of the man who is at the center of the impropriety that we are talking about and leave the rest. What is the justification? It tells you.
But the last question
in there.
The last question for you is
the people he loves.
The last question for you is that the matter was opened in 2018. We are in 2025, right? And from our coverage, we are not even sure if the trial proper has even begun. Should a man be prevented from occupying a position on the basis of a case through which no fault of his has taken almost 6 years?
Bernard, I am not sure I have that quality of mindset and knowledge to determine whether it is proper for him to be standing trial or not. It is only the courts that can determine. That is why we have the law courts and we have the judges who are clothed with the requisite knowledge, capabilities, and skills to determine whether or not a party is guilty of a crime leveled against him or her. So let's allow the court to decide. If we allow the court process to go on and a definitive decision is made, we will not have questions lingering in our minds. We will come to the resolution that the court of competent jurisdiction has passed judgment and that is final. That is all we want. In that case, we protect he himself, as his integrity, and the integrity of the Ghanaian people and the country Ghana, because he's going to be the one protecting and presiding over our monetary policy and decisions at the Central Bank of the Republic. That is all that we are calling for. Unless otherwise, President Mahama, as we can foresee, had some ulterior reason why he decided to single Asiama out, discontinue his case, and even reward him with a higher position. We find this to be unacceptable, and it indicates President Mahama is not ready to fight corruption, especially when it comes to people he loves and cherishes so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kinyobuaku, Tano M. North MP, who addressed a press conference today from the minority side, taking issue with the appointment of Dr. Johnson Isiama, a former deputy governor of the BOG, to the position of governor. And mind you, the Dr. Isiama, along with other persons, were accused of facing some charges in relation to the financial sector issues. And this is the case where UT Bank's collapse and the challenge with Unibank as well were brought to the fore. The matter started in 2018. The AG discontinued the case and he dropped all charges against Dr. Esiama in that case, and the minority is taking issue with that. Moses Befie Champong is one of the lawyers of Dr. Esiama. Thanks for joining us, counsel. Good evening.
Good evening, Bernard, to you and your listeners.
So I don't want to repeat what Dr. Agbaku has said, because I'm sure you've heard him and heard the interview. What's your reaction first?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me set some facts straight. First of all, an accused person is innocent until proven guilty, and this is trite. I'm sure the MPs are aware of it, and it is very serious that parliamentarians who are lawmakers will refer to an accused person as a potential criminal convict. Even in some countries, they refer to accused persons as defendants, simply because the fact that you've been accused or you are facing charges doesn't mean that you are going to be convicted. In fact, the law is more on the side of the accused person to frame it to say that you are innocent until proven guilty. Secondly, this is a trial that has spanned for over 7 years. In fact, we are now done with the plaintiff witness 2. Just this week, we were in court to start with plaintiff witness 3. The Attorney General indicated that they are finding difficulties to get hold of plaintiff witness 3. And so they took an adjournment into March. If there were any basis for the prosecutor or the prosecution to prosecute this matter, I think it should be clear on the face of it. On the face of it, even right from the start, we said that this case had no substance, and it is in the right sense of the framework of the Constitution and the draft text of our statute that they had in place powers or discretion to Attorney General, such as withdrawal or discontinuing cases. And so if an Attorney General thinks that upon proper review of a certain case, that case is only going to waste the resources of the country or waste money, then I don't see why that Attorney General cannot withdraw or discontinue a matter. Again, from the presser, they indicated that, the minority indicated that it will be proper for Dr. Esiama to hold the position as the governor of the Bank of Ghana whilst he continued the charges, while the case continues against him. In fact, the office of the Bank of the Governor is a very busy office. In criminal charges, mostly you are required to be in court in person. And so if President Mahama and the Attorney General think that the case against Dr. Esiama has no substance on the face of it, and out of about 18 prosecution witnesses, we are now on the third prosecution witness, and that has taken us 7 years. Then why will you want to continue such a case against somebody who is going to head the Bank of Ghana? So I think that reason they give that the governor should be in office whilst prosecution still continues, when clearly on the face of it, there is no substance in the case. I don't think that is proper. And so it is in the right direction that the matter has been discontinued and the charges against him withdrawn. So basically that is it. But it should be clearly stated that an accused person is not a potential convict. An accused person is deemed to be innocent until proven guilty. And an Attorney General has every power if he thinks that a case has no substance and the case will just waste our resources. In fact, there are a lot of corruption cases
All right.
that me as a lawyer, I think it would be advisable or prudent for us to invest our resources in as compared to this case.
All right. We all don't have control over how long a case runs, but the 7 years for you in this case, is it regular? Because there have been other cases in relation to this banking sector that have had convictions. So, for example, in the case of the former MD of First Capital Bank, the matter ran to its conclusion.
Yes.
Does your client believe that the case ran too long and that if the matter had actually ran to its conclusion, he would have been acquitted and discharged?
Bernard, let me state this clearly. I've stated it before, and I'm stating it again. That's right from the start. We knew that this case had no substance. Right from the start, we knew that the prosecution would not be able to establish its case beyond reasonable doubt. Right from the start, we knew that any person looking at the case with a reasonable mind and previewing everything, including the evidence and the facts, will come to the only conclusion that this case should be discontinued. And so, yes, we know clearly that if this case, we allow the country to waste its resources on this case, for this case to proceed to the final stage, the prosecution will not be able to establish its case beyond reasonable doubt. We know that clearly.
Finally, would it have been easier if the whole thing was discontinued, in the sense that he was singled out and charges dropped against him? There are other people involved with other charges, right? So that if the whole matter had been considered by the new AG as a foolish case, then would that have been better? Because I think one of the problems minorities is facing is that why was he singled out of all the people being accused to be to have the charges dropped, and then few days after that he's nominated for the BOG position?
Yes, but the last time I granted an interview on this matter with City, I stated clearly that if the Attorney General, and in fact, it was a plea to the Attorney General to look at the facts and the evidence that have been tendered in against all the accused persons. If that is done, I believe strongly that the Attorney General will come to the only conclusion that he will discontinue the case against all the accused persons. I am sure it's because Dr. Simba has been singled out now because of the nomination, and so it is only reasonable that the Attorney General will take his time to also look at the evidence available against the other accused persons. One thing we have to be aware is that in criminal charges, there may be about 9 persons. There are 9 persons. But one thing we have to know is that in criminal charges, even as much as there are 9 accused persons, the charges against all accused persons will be different. And in this instance, the charges against the accused persons are different. The charges against Dr. Siama that he breached the Bank of Ghana Act and he caused some financial loss to the team. The charges against the other accused persons are different. In fact, if you look at the facts against Dr. Siama and the evidence against Dr. Siama, all they are trying to establish is that Dr. Siama took certain decisions. And all these decisions as we speak, in fact, when you look at the cross-examination, the answers, all these decisions he took were not decisions he took by himself. They were decisions of the management of Bank of Ghana. And so if the Attorney General has decided to look at the charges peculiar to Dr. Isiama and has decided to discontinue, it doesn't mean that it doesn't undermine the decision of the Attorney General. One, because the charges against the other accused persons are different. And two, because we know that if the Attorney General clearly reveals the facts and the evidence against the other accused persons, he will realize that there's no substance in the case at all. And so I don't think it is out of order for the Attorney General to decide to discontinue against the Tiama at this stage.
Thank you, Moses Befi Champong. He's one of the lawyers for the Bank of Ghana governor. I'm not sure if I'm calling him the nominee or governor, because I do know that there has to be a process for which is finally confirmed. But he did begin work a couple of days ago. He's been appointed as the governor of the central bank. I think pending something, but basically he's been appointed. Eyewitness News, we're live 97.3 CDFM and on our partner stations. We've been speaking to Gideon Boakun earlier, who is the MP for Tano North, and his side of the house have raised issue about the appointment of Dr. Johnson Esiama, a former deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana, as the new governor. They say the president should have allowed the matter to get to its conclusion, although the Attorney General has dropped all charges against him in respect of the matter. I just spoke to Moses Befie Champong, who is one of his lawyers. Now, do I have Professor John Gachi on the line? So he's an economist. Just pick his quick thoughts around the economic aspects of the issue. So Dr. Boaku, himself an economist, said they were going to write to the IMF to raise issues about this and point out what he calls the reputational risks to the country of having somebody with these charges against him being nominated for governor. Prof. Gachi, I almost said good morning. Forgive me. I always do morning programs. Good evening, Professor John Gachi. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So, I mean, the minorities are saying they're going to write to the IMF to complain about the appointment of Dr. Esiama, and they are saying that his appointment raises reputational issues for the bank. Do you agree with them? How do you see this playing out?
Well, I think reputational risk arises when the person suffered or is convicted by a court of competent jurisdiction for which he does not meet fit and proper tests to occupy the position, but the government went ahead to appoint him to that position. So as we speak, no reputational risk has arisen. Our criminal jurisprudence is very clear. Prove beyond reasonable doubt and be convicted by a court of competent jurisdiction. If that does not happen, that person is as credible, honest, and free as though he has never been charged by any court. So as we speak, it was the state or the republic that preferred charges against Dr. Esiama, and the same republic came out to withdraw the charges against him, thinking that they are unfair to him and other reasons, and withdraw the case against him. So Dr. Esiama is as credible, is honest, he has the dose of integrity within him as any other person who speaks on this matter. And therefore, no reputational risk has arisen for which IMF should be concerned. IMF is not concerned about interpretation of our laws. They know that it's the judiciary that does that, and the Attorney General has followed that process and makes Dr. Esiama a free person. And therefore, no issue has arisen.
That's well and good, but for a highly sensitive position like the governor, the IMF and other partners, and even the market would have preferred that ab initio this did not arise in terms of one side of the parliament raising issues, because you do know that the position itself is supposed to be independent, and I think Dr. Esiama himself, when he met the team, said they would be independent. So I'm sure IMF and whichever person is in the stakeholder group would have preferred that this was what's the word I want to use? A nomination without controversy, and nomination, because this sort of politicizes the thing from the beginning, and that's not necessarily very good, is it?
No, I'm not sure.